never be afraid to ask for help, grab the opportunities. And I think for me, I kind of go, be more team esteem. You guys, you've really driven your agenda. You've got the world looking at what you do. And the last piece of advice for team esteem, go and win that solar decathlon.
Hello everyone and welcome to one more episode of In Conversation with our sponsors. Today we have Alison from Class of Your Own, known as Koyo. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit, like how you are?
Thank you, Jairis. I'm very well. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's hot and sunny in the United Kingdom, which makes a nice change. And yes, it's really delighted to take part in this. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome here too. It is sunny. So today we will be asking Alison about her career, also the contribution to the house, what Class of Your Own is about, and a message for future engineering students as well. So let's start. So can you tell us a little bit about your major and why you interested in that major? Like, why did you choose it?
Okay, well, I think it chose me rather than me choosing it. So leaving school at 18 years old after A-levels, didn't really know what to do. Nobody was giving me any good careers advice. So I just said to my parents, I'm going to go and get some work, get some experience of life, and hopefully I'll figure it out. And because I enjoyed mathematics, I literally looked through the newspapers looking for a job, and I saw a job in a bank, and I thought, that's numbers, that will be fine. So I applied for the job. I was the first of the interviewees for what was actually a graduate job, but I persuaded them that I could be that person for them, and I'm willing to work hard and try hard and so on. And I think I had a real work ethic. I got the job. They put me on a kind of fast track learning program, and it was only meant to be for me for a short time until I figured my life out, or maybe I'd go down this amazing track in banking. I stuck it for 6 years, and I really was bored. It was awful. And then one fateful night, I agreed to go with a friend of mine at the bank to a nightclub. She'd just lost a boyfriend. She was miserable. Please come out. I need to get out and just enjoy myself. So we did that, and I met a civil engineer literally that night in a nightclub in my home city of Sheffield. And we got talking. I went out on site with him. I really discovered this amazing industry and thought, this is what I want to do. So I fell in love. That's what got me into construction. And I started working with him, training on the job. I was really interested in the land surveying side. But by this time, I'd changed my job. I'd gone into work with him. I was training. I was learning. I was 26 years old. And so I applied to the local university as an older student, a mature student, and got into construction management because it was the only local degree course that had an element of surveying in it. And I thought, well, if that's all that's on offer, that's what I've got to do. But it was brilliant because I almost class it as kind of like an apprenticeship, because I was learning in work. And I was learning at the university, and everything I was learning in university, I was being able to apply. And I think because construction management gave me that really sort of rounded appreciation of the built environment, even though some of it, I remember doing drawing cross sections through roofs and thinking, this is not what I want to do. But it gave me a really good grounding in what is the construction industry and where I fit into it. So unfortunately, I had to leave early from Sheffield. I had a bit of a crisis personally, and moved away to the northwest. But that was my entry into the construction industry, and my interest was just sparked from a love of being outdoors, a love of people, because I think the construction industry is a very social industry. With lovely people, and the rest is history. I stuck it out ever since.
No, it's actually interesting what you're saying, because when you went out of your high school, you went into a bank, and then from there you actually were fascinated into another career. And this is what happened, for example, and I can relate to you. I am 27 years old, and I also changed my major. for architecture engineering, because you find it fascinating because one person makes you see it. So I guess when we move on into the next question, you will be that person that makes other people be interested about this career in a different way. So you don't only have to be, as you said, you don't have to be an engineer. You can be in the management, or you can find something that sparkles that interest that you have. So yeah, just moving on into that. So can you tell me more a little bit about the company, Koyo, and what do you do for them, and what is your role, so we get to know you a little bit better on that side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to take what you said there, because you said you find something that sparkles, and that was effectively for me. And actually, I can feel goosebumps when we just use the word sparkles. I think as I was moving through my career, I started to work on a major school building program. So I was surveying, I was looking at building elevations, floor plans, topographical surveys. I was doing all that work as part of a massive school building program. And of course, in being in schools, I'm meeting lots and lots of young people, and so many young people reminded me of me when I was that age, who knew nothing about why I was there, about industry and so on. And it was and that thing that sparkles happened to be a total station. I went on site. I had a robotic total station. It was this wonderful Topcon robotic total station that was also reflectorless. So normally in surveying, you might have two people, one person on a prism pole and the other person on the instrument. But this was me controlling everything. And this instrument, moved around. It flashed as it was talking to the prism, to the logger on my side, and the kids were just like, "Whoa, what is that? That is so cool!" And it's that little sort of nugget, that little sparkle that was in their eyes, that I thought, my God, we have something here. People like me should be doing more things like this with kids to really, really engage them. And the construction, I used to come home, this was early 2004, something like that, and I'd just had a baby. I was still trying to balance life and work, and even breastfeeding was really, really challenging. You think about we women and diversity and inclusion, and my God, have we got some stories to tell how we balance life very well. But I remember coming home to my husband and saying, "Oh, Nigel, I'm meeting all these kids again, and they know nothing." And it was really frustrating that even when I was talking to their teachers, their teachers didn't realise that this school building was a building. The building, but it kind of does what it says on the tin. You're in a building. You're in a piece of construction. You're in a piece of civil engineering. And they just never saw that. And I thought, well, the school building program actually is our best bet in engaging young people in what is a tremendous, tremendous industry. And, politicians come and go, and a lot of the policies, they're very, very, they put huge barriers up to young people around what they can explore and be creative about. It's a very, very narrow curriculum at the moment. And whilst I'm absolutely all in favour of a knowledge-based curriculum, children need to have knowledge, but they also need to find ways to apply it. So a knowledge and skills, or knowledge and application, as I would prefer to call it, curriculum, to me is so very important, because I just remember all the time coming out of school and saying, what the hell do I do now? And hence moving into a career that I really wasn't suited to, and really wasn't the career I expected. So I set up Class of Your Own as a company who could add that little sparkle to a curriculum, and they could actually bring a curriculum to life. And when we're talking about the STEM curriculum with science, technology, engineering, maths, the STEAM curriculum with art and creativity wrapped in the middle, but also things like geography, English, history. I mean, you've only got to think about, we've been talking earlier about the Romans, and how much of the architecture and civil engineering is still derived from the Romans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, So we can really, really bring a curriculum to life. I actually set up Class of Your Own to start designing classrooms with children. Class of Your Own also has that you are in a class of your own. You're individual. You're amazing. You can be that person. So this company, Class of Your Own, or Koyo, as it's been come to know, quite familiar with lots of people now, is giving children, or empowering children, to design, engineer, and construct their own futures. And even if they don't go into the built environment, we're hoping that the knowledge and skills and the sparkly bits that they pick up will help them in life anyway. So that's what Class of Your Own is. It's a company that educates young people and trains teachers to discover this brilliant world that you and I now work in.
And just to add, from you, actually, it is very, very interesting what you do, because, for example, when I was part of it and I was teaching my niece, I think I told you before, when I was teaching her a little bit of the workshop that you did, and I told her, well, you have to design as well this small classroom. And she saw a classroom like the one she had back in her school, which was out of concrete bricks without a lot of natural light. And I told her, no, you need to think about outside the box. So I gave her some of the workshops that you told me. And you have to see her after that, when she went to the classroom, she said, but Tia, which is aunt, now I can see how the roof works, and now I can see like the walls, how they work and how they can be better. And it was so interesting for me as her aunt to see like a 7-year-old trying to see beyond that and giving some of the ideas. So I absolutely think it's a fantastic company that you built, and also because it teaches kids what they might be missing, even though they are in that environment, as you said.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, as you know, when you started the career, it was not during the quarantine. So, how did it affect you, the quarantine, and how do you manage it with all the work and everything you did as well?
Yeah, it was a real challenge. 23rd of March, I'll remember forever. It was the day before my birthday. And I didn't feel much like celebrating. COVID had happened, and suddenly, and even on the day I was working on my birthday, the phone started ringing, and all the support, because Class of Your Own does rely on an awful lot of support from industry, from professionals, from volunteers, and so on. And my phone started ringing, and people who had supported Class of Your Own for years and years started saying, "Oh, well, we're hearing about this thing, it's going into crises, and I'm not sure we'll be able to support you anymore, because obviously children are going to be starting to operate differently now." When the schools started to close, we saw this real change in the industry. We're saying, no, we can't engage with children, because engagement with children has always been a physical thing. People go into a physical classroom, they take children onto site and so on. And suddenly all that was stopped, because everybody went home. The whole world went home. And when we were working from home, children were working from home as well. So as the world's schools moved online, we've been trying to work in this digital environment for years. One of the big challenges that we've always had is schools using computers to design digital buildings. So, installation of software, not having the right computers and so on. And even trying to move into online and working on Teams and Zoom and so on was a real challenge for schools. And the biggest challenge of all was for the children themselves. Because I think that what COVID really, really brought to light for children is that so many children in the UK are marginalised in terms of having a computer or a mobile phone, or even the bandwidth or a contract to get on a mobile phone. So I just imagined what it must be like for children around the world who live like this every day. They don't have a pandemic that, prevents them from learning. That is life for them. And it started me thinking about, building platforms. How can we engage with children? How can we encourage industry to be supporting children to get online? How can the big, mobile technology providers, get to be more, equitable about the way that they engage with young people, and particularly those in more deprived communities. And I'd had these conversations before COVID, and I think what COVID did, despite the fact that it was horrible, it's been a horrible time for everybody, it's brought some serious issues to light that we need to address anyway. So it's a shame that it took a pandemic to do that, but what it also enabled us to do was to really, really escalate our plans to move to a digital platform. and thereby enable children to do all the things they do at school to do online, and hope that more of these larger companies, particularly the technology and the telecommunications companies, would find a way to support more people. And I think that's happened. So the fact that we've been building a platform, we've just launched it actually officially. We've worked quietly behind the scenes. One of our guys, Matt, has been a tremendous asset to the company. It's amazing. For us as a tiny weeny SME, we are a social business. We're absolutely, tiny weeny, how agile you can be. And I think the survivors of COVID, in terms of small businesses particularly, has been because we can move very, very quickly. So despite the fact that, quarantine was a challenge, it actually brought out a lot of good for Class of Your Own, and a lot of good for the children and the teachers that we work with.
That is amazing as well. Besides all, as you said, the pandemic that has happened, it makes you think how you can improve it and how you can make it more online, and how you can engage other students, because with online, if we move everything online, we are actually able to gather and have more schools maybe. Because if you had to, when you were in person, maybe one or two around where you are. But if you are online, you would be able to have more schools around the world, maybe. Is that
absolutely? And something, you and I have talked about Paraguay, and we've talked about Genoa, and suddenly you can have a school in your classroom, because the online platform that we've actually developed means that we can actually bring through online, we've all been working online all this time. We're getting used to it. It's become normal. So actually, through the platform that we've developed, it means that a school anywhere in the world can just log in, and we can do the class live to a class, if that makes sense. So it's a hybrid of real and virtual, but it means you've got real teachers, live teachers supporting real teachers in the room through an online platform. So actually, when you were saying to me, "Oh, I wish that could come to Paraguay," now it can. So we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, of course. And so moving on to the next questions, and how did Class of Your Own came to work with Teams Team with us?
Indeed. Well, that's one of the other lovely things, that's come out of our relationship with Heriot-Watt University. I've known Alex McLaren for nearly as long as I've been doing Class of Your Own. She and I met through innovation, through looking at how young people were the true innovators. And I remember it was all sort of around the launch of the BIM mandate, level 2 mandate, and so on. And a young group had set up, and Alex was, representing that young group. And she and I, over probably a couple of glasses of wine, which would be quite the norm for us, we got talking about what I was doing, what she did, and we just got on like a house on fire. I love that girl to bits. And we got to working together. Heriot-Watt University, through also Professor Fiona Grant, we'd started working on a piece of research around the advantages and the opportunities that working with a university can bring to young people and teachers in secondary schools and indeed in primary schools. So we had an opportunity to look at BIM for education. That's what we called the programme. And through some funding from the Construction Industry Training Board, thanks guys for that, really, really valuable. It meant that we could actually look closely about the relationship between university, schools, and indeed industry. We worked with Langeroog very closely, who were actually, through our Adopt a School programme, had adopted Drummond High School in Edinburgh. And we got together with Alex and the fantastic teacher there, Mark Holden, and Jodie Hannon, the head teacher at the time, and said, look, we'd like to bring students in and let's see what happens. And even then, it's interesting. I'm just thinking about this now. Even then, when Alex or the students couldn't come physically into the classroom, they literally, even one day, set up the mobile phone, dialed in through Skype, and did a little bit of classroom support through Skype. So even then we were demonstrating that there were alternative ways of engaging with children through technology. And so suddenly we were chatting, and Alex happened to mention this amazing group of students who were doing this solar decathlon program in Dubai. And of course, this was all pre-COVID, and we'd never even heard of it at that time. And I got to meet some students, and we got chatting. And I think it was either a tweet or a text or something like that to Scott Calder. And I said, really, really love what you guys are doing. We'd love to work with you. Maybe we could do a competition with you. And Scott was like, oh, that sounds cool. So next thing you knew, we got you on the phone and some of your other friends and colleagues at Team Esteem. And I said, look, our kids or kids all over the world need to be challenged, need to be able to have a go without the constraints of curriculum and study and so on. Would you do a fun competition with us? And you designed this amazing house that's got through to solar decathlon finals. And we said, okay, how about we go about it where just because you buy a solar house as a homeowner doesn't make you green, doesn't make you buy into sustainability. And a lot of people in Dubai, for example, where your house is going to be built as part of the solar decathlon and ultimately Expo, I said, buying a house in Dubai and trying to be green is a real challenge because you've actually got the climate over there to deal with and all those other issues. So let's work out a challenge. Let's build a pavilion, a learning centre for any homeowner who buys a solar house, a Team Esteem solar house, to educate them about how best to use that house. Because I've always said you can buy the greenest building in the world, but unless you know how to use it, it won't retain its environmental advantages and so on. So you guys said yes, and that was it. What was amazing again, of course, is that when we went into lockdown, that's when working with you guys came into its own, because we did this amazing work experience. I was building a virtual work experience for a BBC summer school for a music recording studio. And I happened to I was building this and I tested it on my daughter and some of her friends. It was a real success. We worked with colleagues in Manchester to do this. And I happened to get a LinkedIn post from a friend of mine who works at Balfour Beatty, Kevin, or who did work for Balfour Beatty, is now at CISC, and a lovely gentleman, Chris at Skate Procurement, had put a post onto LinkedIn that said, what's going to happen to all these children who need work experience now we're in the pandemic, now we're in lockdown? And Kevin actually just put, Ali Watson can help. So Chris and I got talking, and before you know it, he'd said, could you do something to help? And I said, well, I'm building a virtual work experience for the BBC, so why don't we look at building a work experience for you guys? And I've got just the people to do it with. I explained about Team Esteem. I explained about the Esteem Pavilion Challenge. The rest is history. You know what we did? We did this amazing week. We had 28,000 students sign up for that work experience week to work on the Esteem Pavilion. And it was just overwhelming, and we had to pare it back. So ultimately, 2,000 students took part. 700 of those students got themselves a DEC award, which you guys were part of. In terms of moderation and what was acceptable as a piece of work, you helped us with that in a big way too. And the rest is history. I hope we're working with you forever. I never want to stop working with Team Esteem.
No, it was great for us as well to be part of Koyo, because it gave us that experience to talk, to do the videos, to be part of this program as well. And I can say that I was happy to be part of it, and I help whenever it's possible as well. Indeed you do. Yeah. So moving on then to the next questions. And why did you decide to partner with us? Is there any experience that you hope to gain from it?
I think it's really, really important for young people to be working with undergraduates like those at Team Esteem. You're such amazing role models. And also, the fact that, you're just that little bit older than some of the children that we work with, they can look to you and they can discover routes into industry that they never even knew about. So you guys, when you think about Team Esteem, even that group as a small section of society, the different directions that you guys are all going, some into architectural engineering, some into business. some into structural engineering and so on. And I think what you do is you inspire, you highlight all these different university routes. You certainly put construction on the global map because, you know, you're from Paraguay. We've got other people, you know, Sonia from Poland, you know, we've got guys from Edinburgh. But it just really, really demonstrates that wherever you are in the world, you can come into the industry. And I think also what is really, really critical that you have really, really shown through the students themselves, you know, the academics at Heriot-Watt University, oh my goodness, they're amazing. I mean, we've had amazing support from Malaysia, from Dubai, from Edinburgh. But when you think about students being those role models, I think what you've done, which is critical and, you know, around the world, what you've done is show best practice in the way that universities should be working with schools. And I think there's a huge round of applause for Heriot-Watt University in showing that leadership, enabling us to work with you, and indeed you guys independently stepping up and saying, we want to do this, we want to be out there for kids and show them the possibilities. So for me, you've put Heriot-Watt University on the map in so many ways, but also for us you have to. So thank you for that.
And so how do you think this project, Team STEAM, is going to impact the future in construction?
Well, I think, you know, you're doing that already, but you're showcasing to young people, you know, what can be achieved if you're given the freedom to explore and the freedom to be creative. You know, when you think about academic study has been traditionally, you know, you're very, very much like this. You're almost in a silo. You study that body of knowledge. That the end point is, tick, you've got that degree, you've signed off, you've studied that body, and you've passed exams and so on and so forth to do it, and you've got your dissertation in place. I think it really, really highlights the importance of innovation, of creativity, of collaboration, you know, working together in teams. I mean, you guys, you know, from your own experiences and indeed sharing your experiences with each other, learning from industry, critical part of what you've been able to do is with the support of industry and learn from them. So, you know, the future of construction actually is all about youth. It's about youth, YOUTH, the most important 5 letters at the moment. And it's funny because I was only tweeting this morning about, you know, the needs list for net zero. We need to do this as an industry. We need to do that. The one thing that we need to do so much better is improve education. And I think, again, the work that you've been doing to really, really highlight as a project and where all the STEM and STEAM and English and maths and everything else fits into that is a real critical part in the solution of the future of construction industry.
Yeah, and just to go back in the program that we did with you, it was so nice to go and read all these projects that they have done and see the imagination and innovation that they all have, just because they heard maybe our Team STEAM and about Koyo. So I guess after the project that they did, they are going to see the construction different industry and maybe choose it as a career just because they were exposed to it.
Yeah, and you know, one of the nicest things that came out of all this work and continues to do so is the number of parents that are getting in touch with us now, independently of the schools. We've got schools, you know, literally from all over the world now interested in the work we're doing because they discovered it through the children. When the teachers and also the parents have been seeing this work that children have been doing, they're like, what on earth are you studying here? And they go, the built environment. And I think it's really, really highlighted to the grown-ups who aren't necessarily, it's like we were saying right at the beginning of the conversation, you know, we live in homes, we drive on roads, we cross bridges, we go to school, we go to hospital, hopefully not too often. But either way, we live and breathe in the built environment. We work, rest, play in the built environment. And I just think for many, many adults, it completely passes them by as to who, there's somebody responsible for doing all this. So, you know, for me, if we can have any impact whatsoever, it's to help parents and teachers understand that there is this world out there and it's amazing. So, and your work is just it's a major contribution to that.
I guess the program is like a word of mouth because if you're in Italy, you talk about it, then other people might be interested about it as well.
Please, absolutely.
Yeah, and so how and your company is planning to support young people to learn about goals such as net zero, carbon neutral buildings? I know you said it before, but just like a briefly idea of what you will be doing.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing actually, I mean, the most critical thing here is that, it's industry who's, putting their strategies and policies in place for net zero, carbon neutral. How are we going to, mitigate the risks that climate change is bringing? And I think the first thing, industry, regardless what, a certain American politician might have thought about it, we think about the big countries in the world who are contributing massively, including our own, to this. So it's industry. We democratically pick our politicians, or at least you would hope so. So we can choose to believe them or not. But the one thing that we have to do as industry is come together and work together towards this. And it doesn't matter whether you are Coca-Cola, whether you're, McDonald's restaurant, or whether you're Balfour Beatty. These big names in industry. Everybody needs buildings, everybody needs roads to get to buildings, etc. We all contribute to the future of our planet. The one thing that we try to do within curriculum is bring curriculum to life. It's all about little projects, sowing the seeds back to that sparkle. It really, really is. So what we're doing in the future is working with some amazing companies to really, really, both virtually and physically, highlight the issues of net zero, the challenges of net zero, because I keep reminding people we have Vision 2030, Vision 2050, Vision 2070, in the Middle East. But at the end of the day, having one vision is one thing. But if you look about it in terms of who's going to deliver on that vision, it won't be me. Certainly not in 2070. It won't be me. It'll be you. And it'll be the children that we work with. And your niece will be part of that solution and making sure we deliver on that. So I think if anything else, this needs list, need to do this, need to do that. It all comes back to we need children to be educated to cope with the mistakes that we're making at the moment and to find the solutions, just as you're doing with Team Esteem.
Yes, thank you for that. And also, it is so nice to see that a program like yours and your company, Koyo, you have a lot of industry students and people that are just willing to help you and collaborate with this amazing program, because sometimes this is what we are missing. We are missing people that are willing to give their time, their resources to be able to do that, to teach them and say, hey, you are going to be the future. Let me give you the tools so you are able to make it better. So yeah. I do applaud that from this program as well. Usually we tell our professionals like you to give a message to graduates about how they would like to join the construction industry. But since you were also with kids and their parents, and they're probably going to hear this interview as well, do you want to give them a message to them?
Just I do, and I guess it comes from the heart, actually. It's about not leaving your career to chance. My career was chance. It was a chance meeting. If I'd have not decided to go to a nightclub on that night, I wouldn't be here now. I truly believe that, because I met somebody who changed my life. So you've got to make it happen for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. So my advice is just grab up every opportunity that's thrown at you. If your teacher, if your friend, if somebody like you comes along and says, how can I help? What can I do? Grab that opportunity and absolutely go for it. I think it's so important that, children understand that, they are the future and they've got a lot to say about it. And people like us just want to help. So never be afraid to ask for help. Grab the opportunities. And I think for me, I kind of go, be more Team Esteem. You guys, you've really, really driven your agenda. You've got the world looking at what you do. And the last piece of advice for Team Esteem, go and win that solar decathlon, because you can do it. So yeah, just don't leave things to chance. Work hard, play hard, and grab opportunity that comes along.
Thank you, thank you. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Alison. It was a great interview. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I
And,
did.
and for everyone, we will have our next episode next week in conversation with another sponsors. Is there any last words that you would like to say before we close?
Not at all. I think the main thing is really looking forward to the event. There's such brilliant people being involved with Team Esteem over the years. So best of luck for the event.
Thank you. And also one more last thing, how they can find you, how they can connect with you if they want to ask you about a class of your own or any programs that you are doing, and what is the best way they can connect with you?
That's an easy one. That's the easiest question. www.classofyourown.com.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Perfect. So here you go. If you would like to connect with Alison, you just go to the website and they will be happy to give you all the details and information. So, and thanks everyone, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye-bye.